Let us go to the Zoom machine and say hello to one of the best people in combat sports, the founder of Invicta FC, the current president of Invicta FC, the one and only Shannon Knapp, kind enough to join us. Hello, Shannon. How are you?
Hi, Ariel. I'm doing well. Thank you.
Good to talk to you.
Thanks for the kind words.
Yeah, absolutely. Good to talk to you as always. Honestly, one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on, and I think you know this, is because we've been talking a lot about open scoring. And in my opinion, Invicta is one of, if not the most prominent promotions in all of combat sports that has been employing open scoring for quite some time. So I do want to ask you about that, why, how it's been working, because I could sit here and talk about it all day, but you're on the front lines getting feedback from everyone involved. But before I ask you about that, very quickly, I wanted to know, this is, you're in the midst of the new era for Invicta, new ownership, new platforms, new broadcasts, all that stuff. How are things going? Are you happy with this new chapter?
Yeah, I am. We had a little bit of a rough start, but we have really fine-tuned things. We're working on a lot of our international broadcast partnerships right now, as well as here in North America. And hopefully we'll have some really good news to share shortly. But it's good. I love working with the Canadians.
Yes.
I will tell you that.
That's right.
I will tell you that right off. Yeah.
Anthem is the parent company, the Fight Network you are closely linked to over there in Canada. You were on Fight Pass for several years, no longer having sort of the UFC muscle behind you in terms of promotion, tweets, things like that. Do you feel that effect or not really?
I think you're always going to feel a little bit. But I also, we're behind, we're out in front of a paywall now. So we're definitely giving the fans more opportunities to view the programming, and to see the fights. And I think that that is really what's most important to us right now, is making it very accessible to the fans. But yeah, I think anytime you make a change, that's completely different from what you've done. I think we were over there like 6 years, 7 years, something like that.
Yeah.
It definitely is going to affect you to a degree, but it hasn't been significant, I guess would be the right way to put it.
And when, Invicta started, not as many promotions were, employing, for lack of a better word, or signing female fighters. And so I'm wondering how you kind of navigate that, because now you can't have a promotion in MMA without having female fighters on the roster. And there was a time where there was like this great purge where your stars that you had built and invested in were all being sort of taken away from you. The fact that now all these major promotions have multiple divisions, right? 3, 4 divisions. Are you finding it harder to find those young up-and-coming stars because they're being taken away at a very young age and at a very, early stage in their career now by the other big dogs?
Well, I've got to say is thank God for Invicta. I really think that is, I've always said this. I'm not a promoter because I'm a businesswoman that wants to make money. I'm a promoter because I'm a huge advocate for the athlete and for the sport. And I think Invicta is really important because we help elevate that for the women. I always say we keep everybody honest. We keep people that they have to pay the athletes because we do, Has it been different? I think people are still under that misconception that there is like a ton of women competing. Little girls don't grow up every day wanting to be punched in the face. That's kind of what I always say. And, so we still have to put a lot of work into it to find that, that really good talent and stuff. But, we're a company that goes internationally. And, I think that we have seen some difficulties, but not ones that we can't overcome.
Okay.
I guess is the best way to put it. Yeah, but everybody kind of now has women on their cards, and that's just a good place to be. I'm happy to see that, but I still feel like we have a lot of work to do.
Okay. And so you say that, you are fighter friendly and you care about the athletes, and I appreciate that. And so that leads me to the open scoring conversation that is going on right now, because, I do the show twice a week. I've been asking a lot of people, in particular fighters, and I would say, I don't know, 95, 96, 97, whatever that number is, a very, very high percentage of every single person that I've asked if they would be in favor of this, they all say yes. In fact, our next guest is probably the first prominent person that I know, Ally Quinta, who has openly said no to it. But everyone's massive names have all said yes. And so it leads me to think like, ooh, well, why don't they do this? Well, you do this. So could I ask, when did you first institute open scoring for your events?
It was during the Invicta, I think it was 39, and Adam, the commissioner here in Kansas, and I have had many conversations about judging and scoring, and there's always conflict, and it's during the event. And, the Adam walks up to me, because we're kind of talking to see where things are at. And both corners going into the final round have both told their athletes they're winning the fight. And that's going to be a problem after the event because somebody, is not going to get the win that they expected they had. And Adam looks at me and goes, wouldn't it be something if everybody knew where they were at during the fight? And I was like, ding, ding, ding. Of course. Why wouldn't we give an athlete the tools to be more successful, or a coach to be successful in telling their athlete, changing the game plan or helping them be more successful in the fight? And, so we worked on it a while. There were a few things that concerned me. And I'd have to say right off, it was making sure that the athlete was able to make the decision if they wanted it, to have a choice, that we didn't take that choice away from them. So that was really important to me. The presentation of how we did it so that we didn't affect, the event, the athlete, the broadcast. And, thirdly, it would have been how my athletes reacted to it. And I have to tell you that we have had nothing but positive, comments. I mean, everybody loves it. Even as a coach, I don't know how you wouldn't love it. Whether you tell your athlete where they're at or how you motivate them or lack of, or what you say to them, knowledge is king. Knowledge is power. And if I'm doing a job and someone can give me tools to be more successful at what I'm doing, I want those tools. I think the question is more, why wouldn't you want the athlete to have this? Does it fix everything? No, it does not. It doesn't. And I don't think that anybody on my team or the commission here has ever said that it will replace judging or make it better or do any of those things. What it's doing is giving the athlete more tools in their arsenal to have more control over the outcome of their fight. You can educate these judges, you can do whatever, but at the end of the day, you still have 3 individuals that are going to watch something, and their perception of what is happening or how it happened or what is taking place can be different, And so for me, it was just a way of giving back to these athletes more control over their destiny. And I think that's hugely important.
So let's say you have 2 fighters fighting on a card, an upcoming card. How does it go down? Do you go up to both of them and say, do you want to know the scores? And then it's up to them. And if one says yes and one says no, what happens?
It's always controlled by the cornerman or the coach as well. We don't show the athlete. We show the cornerman. And yes, there are conversations that take place prior, and definitely there's conversations that are going on between the athlete, their corner/coach, of if they want to know or not. We don't show the scores to, on the broadcast until after the round starts, which the athlete should definitely be busy with that round, at the beginning of seeing what's going to take place next. So it avoids them inadvertently seeing those scores. But yeah, everything is kind of predetermined.
Okay.
Before.
Have you ever had a fighter say, I don't want to know, please don't tell me. Don't tell my corner, don't tell me.
We've never had anybody say, we've had someone say, they don't want to know what the coach does. Because once again, it's an effective tool for the coach, whether he's saying to his athlete, he or she is saying, you're down or you're up or whatever. He or she knows what to say to that athlete to help motivate or, help them change up the game plan, if they're not being successful. The worst thing that could happen is, an athlete to think that they're doing extremely well and they've got the fight or they're winning, but they're down. And maybe they do back off of the accelerator, that pressure and things. For me, like I said, it's not about me. It's not about the promotion. It's not about what other people think. It's about the athlete and giving them the opportunity. So, yeah, and when that athlete didn't want to know, their coach didn't tell them, but the coach still wanted to know.
Okay, interesting. So the main thing that I hear from people who aren't in favor of open scoring, especially from the viewer, which is a crazy thing because at the end of the day, it's a very selfish stance in my opinion, be like, oh, I don't want it to ruin my viewing experience, but all right, let's just keep going with it. They say, well, if the fighter knows that they are up 2 rounds to none going into the third, then that third round is going to be super boring. They're going to take their foot off the gas. They're just going to coast. Have you, surely you've had fights where one fighter is up 2-0 and they know the score. What happens then? Have you seen this type of thing happen in that third round?
No, no, I haven't. It's kind of actually the opposite, because the person that's down is really aggressive and pushing that pace. What is that other athlete going to do? They still have to fight, or what are they going to do? Run around the cage?
Right.
Now that's not going to look good, you know? So, I mean, yeah, we haven't seen that. We've seen it actually the opposite. You know, we've seen it motivate. We've seen it push for more action. Now, you know, I'm a little biased, but I feel like our athletes always come to fight and they put on great performances. But I mean, with the open scoring, I mean, we haven't had those problems that people talk about. And we don't have people in the stands booing and trying to, you know, fight the judges and all that other kind of stuff that I've seen. Those problems don't exist. I mean, we can all find problems with something if we want to look, you know, but the truth is that this is a benefit right now to the athlete. And if nobody else is coming up with any better solution, we just can't sit on our hands and let it continue to affect these kids' careers. We just can't. So I'd rather it's the same reason I came into this sport. You can sit on the couch all day long and talk about change and what you don't like. But if you're not willing to get up and try to make a difference, then, you know, what are you doing in the sport as far as I'm concerned? You know, and I'm going to give a shout out to Adam on this. You know, I'm used to standing on the ledge, sometimes by myself, you know, and not worrying about the fallout. But, you know, he's out on the ledge by himself sometimes when we first started. You know, he didn't have that support from other commissions. You know, some of the commissioners that were part of the Kansas Commission were like, this is on you. You know, you do this, you fail, you fail. You know, so I give him mad respect for that, because it takes innovative people to try to find solutions. It doesn't fix the problems, but it certainly gives the athlete more resources and control of that outcome. I hear a lot less of the, you know, they still complain about judging, of course, but I hear a lot less about, you know, them being robbed and stuff like that, because they know after that first round, you know where you're at. You have to know what you got to do in that second round, you know, and probably if you're just quitting when you're 2 down, maybe you're in the wrong sport. You know, that's the way I look at it anyway.
No, I couldn't agree more. The accountability is great, because I do think it makes the judges better. But ultimately, I think that at the very least, we have to care about the athletes. And if the athletes are benefiting from this, if this is what they want, because they rarely have a say in anything, let them have this information. Let them have this luxury of knowing where they stand. You know, it's kind of like, it's a great analogy that you just made that made me think of something. When you're playing baseball, different umpires will call balls and strikes in different ways. And you can walk up to the plate and be like, oh, that's his strike zone. Now I need to adjust my approach at the plate. And, you know, I have to swing at this because this won't be called a ball, it will be called a strike. If you're armed with the knowledge of how 3 judges are scoring a fight after round 1, you think, I got that. Oh, wait, I actually lost that. I have to maybe adjust a little bit what I'm doing, because I will probably lose 2 and 3 if I didn't have that knowledge. I was fighting 1 the same way. There's so many different ways that they can be benefited from this, just knowing the information. Like every other athlete out there, for the most part, knowing the information. Just curious, in the crowd, once the round starts, like once round 2 or 3, 4, 5 championship starts, does the crowd know the score as well?
Yeah, you know, they can see it on the screen.
And what have you seen? Have you seen a situation where because my dream is like, oh, it flashes up and everyone's like, oh, we're going in, you know, it's 1-1, here we go. Like, I actually feel like it makes it better. I don't agree with the people who say it's bad for the viewing audience. I actually think it makes it more interesting for the viewing audience. Have you sensed, and I know it's been weird times with the pandemic, there's not as many people out there, but there's been a few shows with crowds, right? Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah,
have you seen,
just started back with,
So have you seen that kind of reaction from people?
You know, people are into it. No one complains about it. That's the thing, you know, and I'm very accessible. Okay. I make sure, I mean, when you come in, you know, to our event, I'm accessible. You know, if you've got a problem, you can come up and talk to me. You don't like what we're doing. And I get no bad feedback. That's the thing. And think about what a tool of a resource that is for the athletes that are in the locker rooms preparing to, you know, to enter the cage after the fight that's going, and they see the judging and how a judge, you know, views something and things like that. I can't find the negatives, you know, and I'd be the first to tell you, because I can assure you we wouldn't be doing it. If it affected my athletes in a negative way, we would not be doing it 100%. Is it perfect? No. Does it change, judging? No, it doesn't. But I think you can educate judges till, forever. And you're still going to have 3 human beings sitting there that could see something and look at it differently. So that's kind of where I'm at with it. And like I said, if there were any problems, and there just aren't, I would tell you, I really would.
I know that.
But and there's going to be some people that don't want to try it because somebody else did it first. There's going to be people that complain. There's going to be people that don't understand. There's always going to be somebody out there that's not going to like it. But the truth is, it's not about them. If you look at this from an athlete's perspective, no other perspective, but an athlete, and you're in that cage, would you want to know?
Of course.
I can tell you right now, I would.
Of course.
Hands down, I would want to know.
Too much at stake. Are you surprised that more major promotions don't push for this?
No, honestly, no.
Why?
I don't, not trying to be negative in any way or be disrespectful, but sometimes I don't know that the athlete is the focus. If there's, for me, it always has been. It just always has been. And this is something that, I can bring in another piece to a puzzle to make it better. And I think that should be everybody's priority. Because at the end of the day, everybody, you don't have fights, you don't have promotions if you don't have these athletes.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It's our responsibility. And I don't like to be called a promoter. I don't like the company I keep, sometimes under that title. But the truth is that it's my responsibility to ensure that I'm making sure that my athletes are successful at whatever that be, or that I'm giving them the resources that they need to do their job, and do it effectively. But it's also, they trust me. I want to make sure that I'm giving them the best that I can. I can't control those judges. I have nothing. I don't know what, the scores, whatever they do. That is not me. That's not Invicta. So all I can do is find a layer of protection. And this, in my book, is a way to give them some protection. It just puts it back on them.
Now, at some point, because as you mentioned, the Kansas Commission, they're the ones overseeing your events, Kansas State Commission, and they've been very open about being supportive of open scoring. If you guys, hopefully you go back on the road, you do an event here in California, whatever, not all commissions, act the same, right? So what will you do? Have you thought of that? If you go back to California someday, if you go somewhere else, are you going to push to have open scoring for those events as well?
I certainly would inquire, absolutely. But me inquiring isn't going to change the mindset of that commission or whatever they have in place. Colorado has it in place.
Yes.
So that is definitely, a state that I will look to go to. But doesn't mean I won't go somewhere else because they don't have it. It's just when we can offer something like that does make a difference for an athlete, we're going to. If we can't, then, so be it. That's, we don't control the commissions. And I think that for the fans is another misconception out there that we should probably clear up, is that promotions do not control commissions.
Right.
And thank God, right? They don't.
Yes.
Literally. They do. They tell us it's their rules, their regulations. We, just abide to those. So I think it's really important that, we'll support any commission and what they, what their protocols are, what they do. But yeah, I don't see anything wrong with it.
Yeah, I kind of just wish that every commission was open to it, and it would be basically a situation where they speak to the promoter. You want it for the event or you don't want it for the event.
Yeah.
But I just can't imagine why anyone wouldn't want it, or at least not offer the option to have it. Because again, I feel like it makes the product better. I feel like it makes the fights better. And ultimately, the fighters, at the very least, they're going into a cage and punching each other in the face. They should know where they stand with so much at stake. So in conclusion, you're very happy with it. You're not looking to change. And if it was up to you, every Invicta event from here on out, regardless of whatever state you're in, would have open scoring. Would that be a fair thing to say?
Yeah, I think to say it more fairly would be to say, if it were up to my athletes,
yes,
every state that we would be going to would have open scoring. I think that's really the fair way to say it. And I'll just add to that is that the Kansas Commission doesn't tell you you have to use it. It's completely up to the organizations. And I think that's another great thing, is that, we've all got to work together to be innovative. I mean, just because the sport's been this way for so long and these people over here do it this way doesn't mean that's the right way or the best way. And I think we all need to continue to strive to make it better, but not make it better for us, make it better for the athletes. And that's just the bottom line.
Amen. When's the next event?
Oh, yeah. Thank you for that. June 20th. Tickets go on sale on Saturday. It's a great event. We're getting ready to announce the full card. A lot of international talent as well.
Nice.
So it's very exciting.
June 20th back in Kansas, right?
Yeah, back in Kansas City for that one.
Back in Kansas City. And in America, you can watch it on your YouTube channel.
YouTube, Facebook, and on Access TV.
And on Access TV. Well done. Yes, of course. They are owned by Anthem as well. Great to catch up with you as always, Shannon. Appreciate what you're doing for the sport, for the female fighters. It's great. Hey, how about boxing finally catching up to female fighting, right? All of a sudden, they're a little late to the game, but you're one of those visionaries who made women's fighting a hell of a lot more accepted and a hell of a lot more popular in our little MMA bubble. And it's nice to see the old guard of boxing starting to catch up with that event a couple weeks ago here in New York City. So kudos to you and the team, and good luck on June 20th.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much.
All right.
Same to you. Thanks for having me.
Talk to you soon. There she is, Shannon Knapp, the founder of Invicta FC, the all-women's promotion that has been doing great things for several years now. They have been around since April of 2012. The vast majority of their events have taken place in Kansas City, Kansas.